Once upon a time, the mice had a meeting to figure out how to deal with their common enemy, the cat. Some said this, and some said that. Many ideas were discussed, but the mice could not find a solution. At last, a young mouse spoke. "I have a plan! All we need to do is put a bell around the cat's neck. The bell will ring whenever the cat moves, and we will be able to run away before she comes." All the mice were surprised upon hearing the plan of the young mouse and started celebrating. Then an old mouse rose and said, "The plan sounds very good, but tell me one thing. Who will bell the cat?" The mice looked at one another in fear. Nobody had an answer. Moral of the story: it is easy to propose impossible remedies. The honest woodcutter. A poor woodcutter was cutting a tree near a lake. His axe slipped from his hands and fell in the water. He couldn't get his axe back, so he started crying. A water spirit appeared from the lake and asked the woodcutter about his problem. The woodcutter told him about his axe. The spirit went inside the lake and came up with a golden axe.
"Is this your axe?"
he asked. The woodcutter replied, "No, it isn't." He dived again and came out with a silver axe.
"Is this your axe?"
he asked. The woodcutter replied, "No, it is not mine." The water spirit again went inside and came out with the woodcutter's iron axe. The woodcutter was really happy to see his own axe. "Yes, this is my axe," he said. The spirit was very pleased with the woodcutter's honesty. He gave the woodcutter all 3 axes as a reward. The woodcutter returned home and told his neighbors about what had happened. One of them was greedy and wanted the gold and silver axes. The next day, the greedy neighbor went to the same lake and threw his axe in the lake. The water spirit appeared from the lake holding a golden axe. He asked the man whether that axe was his. The woodcutter couldn't control his greed and said,
"Yes, this is my axe."
The spirit knew he was lying. He took the golden axe and vanished inside the water. The greedy man lost his only axe. He had learned his lesson. Moral of the story: honesty is the best policy. The Peacock and the Crane. There was a peacock who often boasted about his beauty. "I've got the most beautiful tail," he would say. Once he walked to the banks of a large lake and saw a crane sipping water. "Look, what a colorless bird you are," remarked the peacock. "Your wings can never match my glory." "But my colorless wings can make me fly," replied the crane. He spread his broad wings and flew up towards the sun. The peacock stood where he was in wonder. Moral: Usefulness is more important than beauty. The bundle of sticks. A farmer had 4 sons. The 4 sons were hard workers, but always quarreled among themselves. One day, the farmer got really sick. He wanted his sons to share the farm and work together, but knew that his sons would continue to fight. The farmer decided to teach them a lesson. He called his 4 sons. He gave each son a stick and asked them to break it. Each son easily broke the stick. Now the farmer gave each son a bundle of sticks and asked them to break it. Each tried his best but couldn't break the bundle. The farmer said, "Just like these sticks, if you are united, nobody will be able to harm you. But if you quarrel all the time, anyone can easily break you." The sons realized their mistake and started working happily together. Moral of the story? There is strength in unity. The lion, the bear, and the fox. A piece of meat was lying on the ground. A lion and a bear both saw it at the same time. The lion and the bear started fighting over the piece of meat. A fox saw them fighting for the piece of meat which was still untouched. He stood there waiting. After some time, the lion and the bear became tired fighting and sat down. The fox quickly seized the chance and ran to pick up the meat. The lion and the bear were too tired to do anything. They could just watch the fox eating the meat. Both of them thought,
It would have been much better to share the piece of meat.
Moral of the story? It's better to share than to fight over something. The boy who cried wolf. A shepherd boy was watching his flock of sheep. He felt really bored, so he thought of amusing himself. He stood up and started shouting, "Wolf! Wolf!" to attract the attention of people in the village. The villagers came running to help him, but they saw no wolf, just the boy laughing at them. The villagers were angry. The boy repeated this again the next day. The people again came, but there was no wolf. They angrily said, "Foolish boy, when there is actually a wolf, no one will believe you." One day, the boy was resting. Suddenly, he saw a wolf approaching the sheep. The boy shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" But people in the village thought that the boy was lying as usual. Later, when the boy didn't come back, the villagers came looking for him. The boy was weeping. "Why didn't you come? The wolf came and ate my sheep." The villagers comforted him and said, "Let this be a lesson to you. You must never lie." Moral of the story? Nobody believes a liar, even when he is telling the truth. The bear and the bees. A hungry bear was roaming in the forest looking for food. He came across a beehive. The bear peered inside the beehive, hoping to find some honey. On seeing the bear, a bee flew out and stung him sharply. The bear lost his temper. He knocked the beehive and started destroying it. As the beehive broke, a lot of bees flew out and stung the bear. The bear ran as fast as he could to the nearest pond. He jumped quickly in the water to save himself. Moral of the story: too much anger is never good.
The Gnat and the Bull. A little gnat flew over a meadow. After flying around for a while, the gnat got tired. He settled on one of the horns of a bull. After some time, the gnat got ready to fly away. Before flying, he said to the bull, "Pardon me for resting on your horn. You must be glad to have me go now." "You think too highly of yourself," said the bull. "I did not even know you were there." "Oh, my apologies," said the gnat and flew off. Moral: one should not place self-importance before courtesy. Donkey in the lion's skin. Once, a donkey was wandering in the forest. He found a lion's skin left by a hunter. He dressed himself in it and pretended to be the lion. All the animals mistook him for the lion. They started running away in terror. The donkey was so pleased that he uttered a loud, harsh bray in excitement. A fox, who ran with the rest, stopped after hearing the voice. He approached the donkey and said, "If only you didn't bray, you would have frightened me too." The donkey dropped the lion's skin on the ground. He walked away with his head hanging in shame. Moral: clothes may disguise a fool, but his words will give him away. The Donkey and the Horse. Once there lived a washerman who owned a donkey and a horse. The washerman used the donkey to carry clothes to the pond and back. He used to ride on the horse on the trip to the pond. One day, the washerman put a heavy load of clothes on the donkey's back and took him to the pond to wash them. He took the horse along with him. It was a very hot day, and Donkey felt tired soon. The donkey's back started paining. He asked the horse, "Could you please take half of the load on your back?" The horse replied impolitely, "Why should I carry your load? I will only carry our master." They continued walking, and the day got hotter. The donkey was exhausted. He could not walk on any longer and collapsed on the ground. The washerman immediately removed the load of clothes from the donkey's back. He gave the donkey some water to drink and put the load of clothes on the horse's back. The load was indeed quite heavy. The horse thought, "I should have taken half of the load when the donkey had asked my help." He realized his mistake. Moral of the story: always be friendly to others and help them. Cat and the Fox. Once, a cat and a fox got into an argument about who was more clever. "I know so many tricks to save myself from a predator. How many do you know?" asked the fox.
know just one trick, but that one trick is enough," replied the cat. And then they saw a pack of hounds fast approaching them. The cat quickly climbed up a tree, hiding behind the leaves. "This is my trick," called the cat. "Now let me see yours." The fox had so many plans to escape, but he could not decide which one to try first. In the end, the hounds caught him. Moral: one thing done properly is better than many things done poorly.
The Milkmaid and Her Pail. A milkmaid was walking to the market with a pail of milk on her head. As she was walking, she started wondering about what she would do with the money she would get for the milk. She thought, "I will buy hens from the farmer. The hens will lay eggs every morning. Once the eggs have hatched, I will sell the chicks for money. With that money, I will buy a nice dress and wear it to the fair. Men will want to talk to me, and women will be jealous of me. I'll toss my hair like this." As she thought, she tossed her head back. The pail fell on the ground and the milk was spilled. The milkmaid was sad. She went back home and told her mother what had happened. Her mother replied, "My dear, do not count your chickens before they hatch." Moral of the story: you should not count on something before it happens. The sun and the wind. The wind and the sun were arguing who among them is more powerful. To settle their dispute, they agreed on a trial of strength. The sun said, "Let's see who can remove the shepherd boy's cloak from his back the quickest." The wind tried first. He started blowing strong gusts of air. The rabbit clung to the tree, and the sheep held the fence tight. The shepherd boy started shivering and held on to his cloak tighter. The harder the wind blew, the tighter the shepherd boy held on to his cloak. Finally, the wind gave up. It was the sun's turn. The sun started shining brighter and brighter. The shepherd boy felt very hot. He took off his cloak and sat under the shade of a tree. The wind angrily asked, "How did you do that?" The sun smiled and answered, "Gentleness can be more powerful than force." The wind accepted his defeat. Moral of the story: being gentle can be more powerful than using force. The Ant and the Grasshopper. One summer's day, a lazy grasshopper was chirping, singing, and enjoying the sun. The grasshopper saw an ant working very hard to gather food. The grasshopper called out to the ant,
Stop your silly work and have fun with me.
"No," replied the ant. "I am gathering food for winter. I suggest you do the same." But the grasshopper simply ignored the ant. The grasshopper spent the rest of the sunny days having fun. When winter finally began, the grasshopper couldn't find anything to eat. He searched for food everywhere, but everything was buried under the snow. He remembered the hard-working ant. He went to her house and cried,
I am hungry. I cannot find anything to eat.
The ant felt pity on him. The ant called the grasshopper inside and gave him food. The grasshopper ate happily and promised the ant that he would never sit idle in the days before winter. Moral of the story? Be responsible and prepare for days of necessity.
Aarby's Day at the Zoo. One day, Aarby went to the zoo to see the animals. At the entrance, she met one guard. Upon entering, she heard a loud roar. She turned around to see 2 lions in the cage. Moving forward, she came across 3 crocodiles who were sunbathing. Not far from there were 4 elephants taking a mud bath. They were a family with Mommy, Daddy, and 2 cute baby elephants. As Aarby explored more, she ran into a big cage with trees. Jumping on the trees were 5 monkeys. Aarby was hungry and sat down to eat in the zoo cafeteria. Opposite to the cafeteria were 6 peacocks. A little further, she ran into a pond. Swimming in the pond were 7 ducks. But that wasn't all. On the other side of the pond were 8 turtles. Near the zoo's exit was a dense area with many trees. Perched on those trees were 9 parrots. Just before leaving the zoo, Aarby saw 10 owls sitting on a single tree. She had never seen so many owls together. Amazed with the sight, she came back from the zoo and repeated the number of each animal she had seen.
The Dog and the Bone. Once upon a time, a dog was walking with a nice, juicy bone in his mouth. He came across a river. To get to the other side, he had to walk on the bridge over the river. So he walked on the bridge with the bone held firmly in his mouth. While crossing, he saw his reflection in the clear river water. He thought it was another dog with a bigger and juicier bone in his mouth. He became very angry and thought,
Why does he have a bigger bone than me?
he wanted the other dog's bone as well. So he barked at his reflection, and the bone fell from his mouth into the river. He got upset and realized his mistake. He lost what he had due to his greediness. Moral of the story? It is very foolish to be greedy. The Fox and the Crow. Once upon a time, a crow was flying with a piece of cheese in his mouth. A fox saw the crow with the cheese in his mouth. The fox's mouth started watering. He thought, I want to eat that delicious cheese. How do I get it from the crow? The fox stood beneath the tree where the crow was sitting. He started praising the crow. I have heard that you are a very good singer. I would love to hear your sweet voice. Please, sing for me, dear crow. The crow was very pleased hearing the praise. He opened his mouth to sing. As soon as he opened his mouth, the piece of cheese fell to the ground. The cunning fox quickly grabbed the cheese. He made fun of the crow and said, "Ha! Fooled you! Who wants to hear your voice, silly crow? I just wanted this yummy cheese." The fox walked away, happily eating the cheese, while the crow sat on the tree and cried silently.
Moral of the story: do not trust flatterers.
The Lion and the Mouse. One day, a lion was dozing off peacefully in the jungle. A mouse came near the lion and started jumping and playing on him. The lion was very angry to be woken up from his slumber. He kept his paw on the mouse's tail to stop him from running away. He caught the mouse and said,
Oh, you're going to be my meal now. This is your punishment for harassing me.
The mouse begged and said, "Please, please let me go. I promise to help you when you need me." The lion laughed at this, but freed the mouse. One day, the lion got trapped in a net. He was scared. He roared loudly, but no one came to help him. Soon the mouse came to the lion's rescue and started nibbling at the net. The mouse set the lion free from the trap, and they became good friends forever. Moral of the story: no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. The Thirsty Crow. One hot day, a very thirsty crow was flying around looking for water. After flying for a long time, he spotted a pot of water. There was very little water in the pot. He tried to put his beak inside, but couldn't reach the water. He had an idea. He saw many pebbles on the ground. He picked up pebbles one by one and started dropping them in the pot. As more pebbles were dropped in, the water slowly rose towards the mouth of the pot. The crow drank the water and quenched his thirst. After drinking the water, he flew away happily to his home.
Moral of the story: where there is a will, there is a way. The Fox and the Grapes. A very thirsty fox was wandering in the jungle looking for water. He spotted a bunch of grapes hanging from a vine curled up on a tree. The fox got really happy. He thought,
This is just the thing I need to quench my thirst.
he jumped, but he couldn't reach the grapes. The grapes were too high up for him. He
He tried with all his strength to jump higher and higher, but he couldn't reach them. The fox finally gave up and said,
The grapes are probably sour anyway.
and he walked away. Moral of the story: it's easy to despise what you cannot get. The Ant and the Dove. Once upon a time, a very thirsty ant was drinking water from the river. Suddenly, the ant lost his balance and fell into the river water. "Help! Help! Help!" cried the ant, but no one could hear his cries. A dove, sitting on a tree nearby, saw that the ant was in trouble. She quickly plucked off a leaf from the tree and dropped it into the water. The ant climbed on the leaf. He thanked the dove for saving his life. After a few days, the dove was sitting on a tree. The ant saw a hunter aiming his arrow at the dove. The ant knew that his friend the dove was in danger. He quickly bit the hunter's leg. The hunter cried in pain. The hunter's arrow missed the dove. This time, the ant saved the dove. The dove thanked the ant for saving her life, and they became friends forever. Moral of the story: one good deed deserves another. The Fox and the Stork. One day, a fox invited the stork for lunch. The fox made some soup and served it in 2 shallow bowls. The stork had a long beak and wondered how to drink soup from the bowl. The fox quickly finished his soup. The stork couldn't drink his soup. The stork said to himself,
I must teach this fox a lesson.
After the meal, the stork told the fox,
Thank you for inviting me. Why don't you come to my place for lunch tomorrow? I will make some delicious soup for you.
The next day, the fox happily went to the stork's house. The stork prepared some delicious soup and served it in 2 long-necked jars. Now, the fox wondered how to drink the soup from such a tall jar. The stork quickly finished his soup, but the fox's mouth could not reach the soup. The fox learned his lesson. Moral of the story: tit for tat. Do to others what one would wish for oneself. The Goose That Laid the Golden Eggs.
Once upon a time, there lived a farmer with his wife. They owned a special goose. One day, the goose laid a golden egg. The farmer became very happy and sold the egg. Every day, the goose would lay a golden egg. The farmer and his wife would then sell the egg. They soon became rich. The couple became greedy. They thought that a big piece of gold must be inside the goose. If they could have all of the gold together, they would become richer much faster. They decided to cut the goose and get out all the gold at once. They killed the goose and found that she was like every other goose from the inside. There was no gold inside. They started crying. Now they would not get any more golden eggs, all due to their greed. Moral: too much greed gains nothing.